right, Alex, what is up, dude?
What's going on, brother?
Man, first and foremost, dude, thank you so much for taking the time today. Myself, obviously, being a heavy music lover, at the end of the day, what's gonna get my heart is a great thrash record. And Jesus, you guys have pulled this off,
It's
dude.
classic.
Thrash has been my go-to. I didn't even have a choice. My brothers were, Exodus, Slayer, playing all this shit at an early age. And so to see the amount of rad stuff that's happening right now, and Force being included in this, bravo, man. You guys are
Right on,
so
man.
sick.
I appreciate it, dude. Gotta keep it fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So, myself being a drummer too, I love all the opportunities, as far as being able to do these interviews, but being able to speak with drummers as well and just kind of pick your brain and talk gear and different things, always really fun, man. So I had to say thank you very much, first of all, for taking the time today. So sick.
Yeah, right on, man. Thanks for having me.
As far as you, so dialing it back, young Alex, you being a little kid, maybe even, or a little bit older, where do you start developing your own interest in music? Maybe you have others that are listening to stuff or saying, hey, you should listen to this, but then what's the first thing where all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is pretty tight, I want to look into this further myself?
Well, I'll say really early, I had an aunt that would burn me CDs all the time. And so when I was like a little kid, she burned me like Linkin Park, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, and like the Offspring and stuff. And so I was like really into that, you know what I mean? So I just always had a CD player on me, just always listening to music and stuff. But then kind of just getting more into like the drums and wanting to play drums, that same aunt, her son, my cousin, he's like 10 years older than me. He is an insane drummer, like insane black metal drummer. Like, dude can blast like super fast BPMs and everything. And he was doing that. I remember going and sitting behind his drum set when I was probably like 5 or something. And I was just like, hey, man, this is pretty cool. this looks pretty sweet, dude.
I mean, and what a different energy too, for like black metal. Like that was something, where like myself always being around heavy music one way or another, like it wasn't until, maybe even being like a teenager a little bit later where like black metal was introduced. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, how is this even a thing?
Extreme.
Yeah. So, within seeing that, was he playing shows? Like, did you have an opportunity early on in seeing live music?
So not really, no, because he lives in Iowa and my mom's from Iowa originally. And so her whole family's up there and I live in Virginia. So we would go up there like once a year and I would watch him play and I'm just like, just at his house. And I would just be like mind blown. I'm like, what? How do you even do that, dude? Like that is crazy. And I didn't even understand what like black metal was or metal or anything really. I just understood like Linkin Park, Offspring and stuff like that, just like radio type hits.
Okay, wait. So y'all live in Virginia, but you would like vacation to Iowa?
Yeah, we would go there for like family reunions like once a year.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Iowa's kind of like that desolated, like
yeah, I mean,
have that idea of fucking nothing. Like
a lot of corn. A lot of corn and rolling hills out there, that's for sure. Yeah. And a pretty good black metal drummer in there too.
Apparently. Damn, I love that. I mean, so when it comes into like yourself and maybe even starting to like have these interests and looking further into things, where does like individual musicians come into play? As far as you might be listening to something like, oh damn, like you mentioned your cousin playing like the drums, but as far as bands that you were into, how is this guitarist doing this vocal, like what were kind of earlier cats that stood out to you?
So when I was like really first getting into like drumming, probably when I was in like middle school, I started really getting into like like metalcore and stuff like that. Just being a Colonial Heights kid, just like
it's a must.
That's just what was there, and like the drumming was pretty sick. So I would watch like, I don't know, just like I would go down YouTube holes, because that's when YouTube was getting really big, and I would just watch like, random metalcore drummer videos and stuff. I'm trying to think of like a specific drummer, but I can't really think of one. But I just remember being like so enamored by like double bass and everything, like double kick and everything. I was like, dude, this rules. So then that cousin actually sold me my first drum set and then sold me
Oh, shit.
his old double kick pedal. So I started playing double kick pretty early.
Oh, okay.
And so I just got really into that. But then I'd say as I got a little older, like throughout high school and stuff, definitely like one of the first drummers that like really stuck with me where I was like, dude, yeah, goated, was definitely Dave Lombardo, obviously. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I feel like a pretty classic thrash thing to say, but like for
Yeah, I
real though,
mean,
just like watching that, drum solo videos and everything, like it's just I was like, man, I need to play like that. You know what I mean?
and so like free with it too, when you go back
Mhm.
and you listen to that, it's aggressive, it's in your face. Beyond
Yeah.
all the shit, even you can delete all of those statements and say fast, but
Yeah.
like when you actually go back and you listen and you start, like realizing a little bit about drums, it's like this guy is a maniac and
Yeah.
very jazz influenced, like
Yeah. And I
stupid.
think the main thing, because I also was like, that classic metalcore in middle school, early high school, moving into like hardcore and stuff, is like Dave Lombardo was also influenced by like hardcore. So he's got like
Yeah.
the groove to it, you know what I mean? So I was like really into that, you know what I mean? So the fact that it was fast, but then he also knew how to like break it down and like hit that, ride on the, ride cymbal and everything, I was just like
I
obsessed with it.
see it. I see it. I mean, I love you mentioning that too, because there's definitely moments on this like latest record, and even prior listening to Enforced and like playing along and through the years of playing, and playing with thrash and shit. I'm like, man, Alex has a heavy ride hand. Shit.
Yeah. I
This
love
thing
it,
is
dude.
going. Shit.
Speaking of, I mean, I just got that Peisty like 22-inch rain ride, like the Slayer ride. So that's like
Oh
what's
damn!
on the War
There it
Remains.
is, man.
So yeah, I mean, hails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that first kit, and you getting that. What was this first kit, and what did you have? Like a bunch of symbols with it. Was it kind of
Oh
like a
boy,
very minimal?
it was minimal. So my mom bought it for me. I think I was like 11 or something, and it was just like a real shitty like 1990s Premiere kit.
Okay.
It was just like super beat up. It just had one kick, snare, one tom, one floor tom. I had one crash cymbal and a hi hat, and like
Oh,
that's
okay.
what I was rocking with for about like 5 years. And so I was kind of just like riding that for a while, and then off and on, and like I taught myself some beats and stuff. But then it wasn't until like I turned 16, and for my sweet 16, my mom ended up buying me a newer like Tama Imperial Star
Oh,
with like the
okay.
B8 Sabian cymbal kit. So like, I had the works and everything. So I was like, dude, this kicks ass. And so that's when I like really started playing drums like every single
Oh,
day,
oh shit.
because
Okay.
before it was like, once a week I would mess around, if that. But then yeah,
Now,
then once I got that new drum set, I was hooked.
uh, so along with within this realm, so to speak, or this time, what CDs like did I'm only speaking from experience as far as popping on some headphones and listening to a CD and playing along with that. Was that kind of the the idea that you had as far as when you're first learning to play?
Um, you know, honestly, I didn't. I just kind of like messed around. I really wasn't trying to like learn songs or like learn covers or anything. Like, I don't think I ever really like learned a cover because a lot of people I knew like they were trying to learn like Metallica tracks. Like one of my best friends who got into drumming at the same time as me, and he lived
Hmm.
like right down the street from me. His dad also bought him a drum set, and so me and him kind of like played off of each other. But he was definitely way more into like learning full songs, and I was just binging and bonging
Yeah.
around, just like learning a couple beats and like maybe I would like hear a part of a song and I would like learn that part and play it. But yeah, learning like a full song, I just like I never really did. I don't know why. It's kind of
Okay.
weird. Yeah.
Did you have like certain times as far what I should say did you have, but uh kind of going along with with playing, but then taking it a little bit more seriously, where did you have like YouTube videos or different things, or somebody else that you were speaking with that, you know, as far as kind of getting down more licks or a little bit more of a, you know, the chops, so to speak, to it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely YouTube, big time. Like, just watching random bands with like awesome drummers, just like watching live videos and stuff, or drum cams, you know, because since you had YouTube, there's just like you could just type in whatever band drum cam, and then I would watch that. I'm like, damn, that's crazy, you know.
you you mentioned like metalcore. I was trying to think of the dude's name, Jordan from As I Lay Dying. When that like 94 hours or whatever track
that
initially
was
dropped.
That's probably one I was jamming.
Dang. I remember hearing the like double bass on that. I'm just like, what is
dude,
even happening here?
For real.
I'm trying to think of other things too. You remember on Broken Wings? Did you ever listen to them?
I don't think I really ever listened to them. Oh, that dude, God, what's that band? I used to love them when I was in like 8th grade. August Burns Red, their drummer.
Oh yeah.
I remember he was one that I would watch a lot because he was really good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You know, and people like him, I almost wonder if it was like more detrimental than it was good, because I would just get frustrated. You know, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to do this.
Yeah. I would try my hardest, but I'm like, dude, that's just like, how does he remember how to do all this stuff? You know what I mean?
Right. It's like, it's such a funny trick, you know, in showing somebody who has like no idea, wrapping themselves, you know, their mind around like drums and like having the 4 things going on, but then playing like how he does, that's a whole other level where it's just, you know, I just like to sit down sometime and like be able to chat and just kind of hear like his approach. And through interviews and things, I've heard different, you know, different processes he has, but just with like writing, you know, you're just like, how the fuck are you pulling that? How are you doing this shit?
Because that was my thing too, is like when my buddy, who was also drumming at the same time as me, he would learn full covers and like he would go and play through a full song. I'm like, dude, I cannot remember, like my brain just can't remember a full song structure. You know what I mean? Like I just know how to jam. Like that was like my thing, is I would meet up with a bunch of friends from my high school and just like jam with them that like played guitar. You know, we would never like really write any full songs. We would just like play until we got bored. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until like we started kind of like having our own little crappy, terrible metalcore band to where I like actually kind of started learning how to play full songs, you know.
Okay.
But
was this like the first opportunity to record something and have like something physical in hand? Was that band?
No, like we recorded, but it was like we showed up. So we actually recorded in Richmond, and I think I was in like, I don't remember how old I was, like 11th grade or something. But we showed up in Richmond to this dude's house to record, and like we brought the drums and everything. And he was like, yeah, so we're going to program all the drums. You know, I have the samples here, and, you know, we'll just go through it. And I was like, damn. Like, really?
Oh, man.
Come on, man.
What a bummer.
So, yeah, I mean, they recorded guitars and vocals and all that stuff. But, yeah, the drums, I mean, it was just like one track, you know.
Yeah.
Just to pop up on MySpace. You know, up on the MySpace
Still, though,
page,
man,
but...
like, I think back to, you know, when that was, I don't know if it's not so relevant, because I mean, I feel like there's still, you know, bands that have that with, you know, the majority of a track being punched in or whatever, but it's like, I just feel like it doesn't sound as good, but then, you know, maybe even B plus, like how much work goes into that? Like you're paying this dude to sit here and individually like crack it, like just play the fucking song.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, you got the mics, you have a whole drum set up downstairs anyways. But I mean, he was just like one of those guys who was just like really into like that super polished sound, and I don't think he had been recording that long. So, you know, it's just like he wasn't charging us very much, so we were just going for it, you know.
Okay.
It wasn't until I like moved to Richmond, you know, after high school and stuff, because I'm from Colonial Heights, which is like just like 25 minutes south. But
okay.
So then when I moved to Richmond and then started meeting people and like actually playing in like more punk bands and stuff, is when I actually got to track like live drums for the first time. And I was probably like, I don't know, like 19, 20 or something like that. But
I mean, tell us about that time, you know, your first time holding maybe a CD or, you know, cassette or just something that, you know, that you got back and could pop into a player?
Yeah. I think that was we had recorded one thing. I played in like this thrash metal band uh for like a little bit. We had a couple songs, and that was the first thing I recorded. And I wish that I could find that because we never made a physical copy of it. We had just put it on Bandcamp, but then we ended up breaking up, and the dude ended up taking it off of Bandcamp, and now they're just like lost. Like, so I can't find those tracks anywhere. I would love to hear them again. Damn. But it was pretty cool though, because through recording that, I met these dudes, Bob Quirk and Connor McCormick, who are recording it. They were just like, "Hey, you're pretty sick drummer. You want to play in my like little punk band?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I'm down. That'd be fun." And so then we recorded some stuff for that, and then they put it on a cassette and everything. And yeah, that was the first time I think I ever held my physical music, and I was like, "Man, this kind of rules."
It's so funny, like even as unofficial as something might be, like that reward of having something and just like listening back.
Yeah,
like, damn,
definitely.
This is me playing this, and then years later you go back and listen, you're like, boy, how was I so proud?
Yeah, right.
Maybe not to some bands, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of bands out there.
I've actually listened to that demo like probably like 6 months ago. I was like, this ain't too bad, like
I will speak from personal experience.
Yeah. I mean, now I listen to my high school band, I'm like, God damn, like this that does not hold up.
What about so as far as you kind of touching on like this like punk band and moving like to Richmond, so this is around the time like you started playing like live shows and different things. Was it with that band then?
Yep. Yeah, so the first show I played was like Richmond Punk's Picnic, and yeah, I remember being terrified. Well, so I had played like a show with that metalcore band when I was in high school. We played 2 shows, but we didn't know what we were doing. It's pretty grim, like playing to maybe like 10 people. It was funny because the first show we played to like, there's maybe like 30, 40 people there, but it was at the biggest venue in Richmond. But it was like a pay to play.
Oh yeah.
So it was just this huge empty room, and it was just, it was rough. But then, so much time had passed between that, and then, then I moved to Richmond and played those punk bands, and then it's like I started like regularly playing shows and stuff, like once a month, and then it started getting into like a couple times a month. It was pretty tight.
With that, I guess the rich plethora of music that I know, from coming from the Richmond area, was that something that you kind of knew that you were driving into when you guys were moving there, or was that something just based on of like discovery of just going to live shows and seeing like, holy shit, there's an awesome music scene here?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It came from like me and my friends in high school, like from Colonial Heights. We'd start going to shows in Richmond all the time, like a lot of hardcore shows and stuff like that. And so, we'd be going to that all the time, and we just met a bunch of people just from going to that stuff. So then when I moved to Richmond, I already knew a pretty good amount of people just from going for like, all through high school and stuff. And so, yeah, then once I started playing music, it was cool because then that opens up the door to just like meeting all these other people that are just like, like-minded and just talented musicians and stuff. So that was pretty tight.
What about your first time traveling out of town? Maybe even it was out of state, or it was, going on like a tour. What comes to mind as far as, was it a positive experience? Did everything go wrong that could have? How did that go for you?
I can remember because it was in that first band. It was called Skiavi. It was with Bob and Connor, and we did like a little weekender with. We went to New York, like we played Brooklyn, and then we played Philly, and that was my first time. I mean, I went to New York once when I was in like 4th grade, and I had the flu the whole time, so I don't remember it at all. I mean, I was just like, I had a fever of like 104 the whole time, so I don't remember anything. So it was pretty like crazy. I remember just being there being like, man, this is sick. Played a little small show, but it was fun. And then going to Philly too, played this like really cool like DIY spot, and I just remember being like, man, I can get used to this, just like it's pretty cool being able to just like travel kind of for free, but not really, you know.
I mean, it's so sick too to be able to pull up to like even like a basement show and just have to like scope it out a little bit, and you just never really know. I mean, like you kind of mentioned with obviously it being a pay to play, but you can play the biggest hall and have it be some like extraordinary thing, and it just being a shitty show. Like it's pretty sick
terrible,
when you can pull up to a basement.
I still had a good time. I still had a lot of fun. My high school friends were there, so they were having a good ass time, and I was like, all right,
nice.
This is fun.
What goes into as far as you and playing prior to going up and whether it's on a stage or just going and playing a set, what goes into your prep for playing a show, as far as if you have any sort of ritual, stretching, practicing, anything like that?
Just depends on how like responsible I'm feeling. No, I mean, usually I try like warm up and stuff. I used to never warm up. Like back in the day, I would just get up there and just go for it, drink a couple beers, go up on there. But now that we've been doing a lot more like extensive touring, that's like month-long stuff, like I realize getting kind of, having a few beers before playing, not stretching or warming up, that's when I start dropping a lot of sticks, that's when I start messing up. So yeah, I'll I won't really, I try not to really drink before I play. I'll like warm up on the practice pad in like the green room if there is one, or I'll just, hit it on my legs or something before we go. But yeah, just so I'm nice and limber and, got the cardio going a little bit.
Okay.
But,
okay. So, I mean, now as far as more recently, with your setup, what do you got going on? Because we talked recently and you had a Thomas situation. Now it looks like you're blasting something else. What's going on as far as your setup?
Oh yeah, so we actually I used to play the Rockstar kit. Like that was a pretty cool kit, but
dude,
it's just the way the toms were. It was kind of hard to set up, and it was nice. But then Will, our guitar player, he's just like a Craigslist master. Like he is just always scouring like instruments and stuff. I mean, he's got like a million guitars. You know what I mean? But he found this in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it was like a '86 Grand Star, and it's got two 24-inch kick drums, 4 rack toms, all with square toms, like 10 by 10, 12 by 12, 13 by 13, 14 by 14, and then a 16 floor tom. So it's just big fat drums, which bastards. Which is like exactly what I was looking for, like Japanese made 80s square toms. That was like my checklist, And Will found it, and then we ended up finding it. I just gotta like change up the heads and everything. It's just been crazy busy at work lately, so I've just been having a hard time getting all this stuff figured out. But it feels good. It's a good kit.
It's one of those things where, like, being younger, nobody played drums, and so it was kind of one of those things where it was like, out of necessity, like, maybe I'll pick that up and I can do that. If anybody ever told me how fucking expensive this shit was,
it sucks. Yeah,
I'd check out. There's a lot of times where I tell my band, I'm like, I'm done. Dude. I'm quitting. I'm out of here.
Dude, it's rough. I mean, and it sucks because it's like also the drum endorsements too are like the hardest to get. Like I don't have any endorsements or anything, so I got to pay for everything out of pocket, like sticks and heads and stuff. But it is what it is. And because it's like definitely like a very satisfying instrument to play at the end of the day. Like I'm terrible at guitar, and I don't plan on really getting good at guitar. I can play some power chords, but it is expensive, no doubt.
And that's the thing too, like I say these things, partially out of seriousness, because it's like you go and I went to buy like a new Evans like bass head the other day for front and back, and it was like $85. It's like that's almost $100 for 2 pieces of plastic.
Yeah,
whatever the fuck it's made out.
We just bought all new heads for this for the new kit, and it was like $300 or something like that just for heads. And it's like, God, Lord,
it's unreal. Absolutely
brutal.
Unreal. So as far as enforced, so so psyched to be able to dig into this here. You know,
Yeah.
Within your initial, you know, how do you meet these cats? How do you kind of get introduced to playing in a band?
So actually, right after like that band Schiavi where we did that weekender, probably like not that long after that, we ended up doing a week run or like a 5 day run. It was that band and then this band Mad Existence that Zach played in, the guitar player for Enforced. And we ended up like sharing the same van, and that tour was just so much fun. Like that was like my first like actual like, you know, sitting in a van, you know, playing 5 days, got like the actual tour
Mm-hmm.
experience. And so after that, I like met them and we just like kind of hit it off right
Oh,
away. And so we were just like buddies for a long time. And they used to play in this band called Outshined as well, which was more like a hardcore band. And then so through that, you know, they kind of ended up taking that band and almost a similar lineup. It was Will and Zach both played in Outshine, and then they were just like, man, we want to write like thrash metal, you know, like we want to do like a metal band. So they kind of took the same lineup and just created Enforced originally with a different drummer. So like on that first Enforced record, I'm only on the first two songs, and the rest of the record is this dude Isaac Hollinger, who's like crazy good drummer. Like he's super good. And when I joined, I was like, oh boy, like I gotta I gotta polish up,
and
dude.
he was on a couple tracks from like At the Walls, right?
Yeah. So
I think
he's
it's
on most of that record.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Got you.
I'm
Got
only
you.
on the first two tracks of At the Walls.
So
Yeah.
how did that work? Was it just something to where it was like timing to where the both of you guys were on that, or how did that end up working out?
Yeah, I think it was just like, you know, they kind of just had like some internal struggles. I think they were just kind of having some creative differences
Oh,
or
okay.
something. I'm not
Cool.
really
We
sure,
don't have to
but
get into that. I just
yeah,
didn't know if
yeah.
there's something further.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
gotcha. Cool.
but then they just asked if I wanted to play, and actually the drummer asked if I wanted to fill in on a tour, and then he was like, "Actually, you just want to play in the band?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah," I'm like, "Sure, why not? I like metal."
I mean, so and you guys have a new record coming out at the end of the month here, the 28th, on Century Media, which I mean, you guys have been working for,
Hmm.
been working with for a little bit. It was my understanding you guys had, something going on with a couple of labels there, and Century Media had reached out, and I mean, huge, like absolutely sick for my understanding of like the initial band starting and just kind of being like, hey, let's record some stuff and write a record.
Yeah.
That's absolutely I mean, where's this session start?
So I mean, we just like, you know, we're pretty rigid when it comes to practice. Like, you know, we'll just practice like twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, we just kind of try to just like usually Will or Zach, like they'll just come to practice with a bunch of riffs, you know, mostly fleshed all the way out, but then we'll kind of structure it. You know, I'll give my 2 cents on it. If I'm like, oh, that riff kind of sucks, or, you know, I'm like, oh, that riff is incredible, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, we'll just kind of bounce off of each other, and then, yeah, just usually kind of just flesh it out and see how it goes until we have a good collection. And then we'll like demo it and stuff like that. And then dwell on it or scrap some songs or, you know, come back and just completely rework some, you know, because we've done that quite a few times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, did you go in? Where did you guys record, and like how long was your session in the studio?
So are you're asking for the last record specifically?
Yeah, this new War Remains. Yeah.
So we record at this place called The Ward in Richmond. It's like right on Broad Street, and it's just like the sickest studio. It's like got this humongous room, like old school building. Like we track all the drums in this room, so we get like the big natural reverb and stuff. But they still put the you know, they kind of surround the kit in baffles, so you get a nice contained sound. But
Oh,
then, you
okay.
know, they also have some room mics because it's like, you know, a like 40 by 50 room or something. Like it's huge. And
Damn.
pretty sick. And this dude, Ricky Olson, is he's our engineer for it. And I love working with that guy. You know what I mean? He's just like on the same wavelength, you know, he knows what's ripping, you know, he knows how we want it to sound. So it's like, it's pretty sick working with him. It's just like such a seamless, especially this last record. Like we went in the studio, and I think it only took us like, the drums, I think we got done in 2 days, I believe.
Mm.
Yeah. And then all the guitars and stuff, I think they did in like, it didn't take them that long to do it. It was just, we were just kind of knocking it out, it was already a pretty comfortable experience for us. So it was a good experience. Yeah.
I mean, it's always nice when those things happen. I don't know if like what is your take on being in the studio? Is it something that does it stress you out? Is it something that excites you? In the grand scheme of playing music, I should ask.
A little bit of both. It always stresses me out a bit just because I'm a bit of a procrastinator at times. So I'm just, God, dude, like I gotta figure out exactly what I'm doing. Like I'm like, that was definitely a lot more prepared this time. You know what I mean? So it was pretty easy. It's always like I get so much like preemptive anxiety going into the studio, just like, I'm just like, oh man, like I just want to make sure that, I got to get a good pasta dinner in me the night before, get some carbs and all that stuff. And, but then it's like, as soon as we start tracking, it's like good to go.
Yeah.
It's like, it just kind of flows.
I don't know what it is, man. Since I have started playing music, the studio process is always the part that I just like, I am not a fan of. And it's not like I have to do multiple takes or I do anything, or even really like the stress of it. It's just something about like having on headphones and either hearing like a click or hearing like my parts, like kind of feeding back, or like hearing the guitar and just like making sure that everything. I don't know what it is. It's just for whatever reason, I'm like, I'm making this way too big of a fucking deal.
Yeah, right. I think how we've kind of like mitigated that is just like, when it comes to recording, like I said, we just work with our buddies, we keep it in the family and stuff. Like Bob Quirk was always, the guy we were working with. And then it was like him and Ricky working together. They're like an awesome team. And it's just like, they're our friends outside of, recording and stuff. So it's just like the most comfortable studio situation you can think of. You know what I mean? It's not like you got some dude that you don't really know in the audio or like in the control room, just like tapping his foot, like do it again. You know what I mean? Like, come on, I'm charging you by the hour. Like he works with us. So it's like, it's so chill. So like pretty much any stress that I have is just from me just like being like, man, do I actually like know exactly what I'm doing in these tracks? Like, hold on. And I'll just like psych myself out, be like, man, we practiced so much, but like I'm just blanking out right now. Almost like stage fright or something.
I think that's like one of the things too that almost kind of balances within thrash, like that genre in general, is like there's a lot of times even where if you fuck up and you miss something, simplicity, especially behind the rhythm in it, you can't really go wrong. It's not something where if you were supposed to throw a wicked solo and it just ends up that you continue to ride, the ride or hi-hat or whatever. It's like people will probably still think that that's what it was supposed to be.
And like, honestly, that's exactly what I was going for on this record too, because the last one, I was like, kind of trying to, throw a little flashy stuff in there. I think it's cool, but it stressed me out a lot more, you know what I mean, on Kill Grid. And so this one, I just was like, kind of like, all right, less is more, I'm going to just let the riffs do the talking, like I'm going to just play fast, so there's a lot of parts where I like wanted to do some like little flashy things here and there, but then it's like, it's like, it's cool, but then I just dumb it down a little bit. I'm like, that just sounds so much cooler. And so
for sure,
it's just like it's easier, and it just lets the riff breathe a little more. It doesn't like over, make it too technical or anything, because I don't like when stuff's too flashy and technical. You know what I mean? I'm not that into that.
No, I dig it. I mean, I'm trying to think of like how to word it so that it doesn't, because I want to say. I want to say matured like from this last record, but then that almost makes it feel like the band has like suspenders now and you've incorporated like keyboards. Like that's not what I'm going for at all, but like it's almost like a more focused feeling. Like this is
definitely.
is it 10 tracks? I'm sorry, I should have fucking wrote that down. But,
I can't remember off the top of my head. I think
we'll say the album from start to finish, through and through, is fast, in your face, and it's absolutely everything that I want in a thrash record, and I can't wait to have a physical copy of this thing, dude. It's so sick.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm loving the shit out of this thing.
I'm pretty stoked on it, man. Like, it's nice when you like get the recordings back and you hear it and you're like, yeah, because sometimes, I'm sure you get a recording back and you're just like, like, I wish there's some things I could have done a little differently. Like, it's still good, but this one, it's like, we get it back. I'm like, yeah, I'm into it.
Love that.
But, like, I feel pretty good about it.
Now, standout moments to me, and if you have, something that you kind of want to share, whether it's writing or studio, Mercy Killing Fields and then Aggressive Menace. And then not only the two, I'm blanking completely now on the very last track.
Empire, I think.
Empire.
Yeah.
Dude. Anything, anything off the top of your mind?
In it, for sure. Like that last riff, and where it's like just by itself, just going. He was like, because when we were writing that, it's funny because like that's like one of my favorite riffs on the record. And Will was like, man, is that riff too much? Like, I feel like it's going a little too hard. And me and Zach were just like, no. Like, no, it's staying. Like, keep that one there, brother. Like, that's a good one. And he was just like, all right. And like, I'm so glad it stayed. But yeah. And that intro song too, I'm also like really stoked on that, Aggressive Menace, just because I just love the way it starts out. You know what I mean? Just like comes in fast, a little half D beat, and then goes into the push beat. That was a little touch on there. I was pretty stoked on, for sure.
I mean, with and I think even like within like Mercy Killing Fields being like that middle, like either fifth or sixth track, it was one of those things too where the ebb and flow of the record, like even though by no means do I say ebb and flow and mean that it slows down, but it
that one does slow. It starts out slower, it's a little chunkier and whatnot, but I think,
but aggressive.
And I think it we tried to like make sure that the record, because if it's just nothing but just constant fast the whole time, every song starts fast, it's like gotta have a little variation up in there. So I think that did a pretty good job of it, just breaking up the record a bit, keeping a little dynamic, for sure.
So within the Starve video, what behind concepts, the treatment, what went into this bad boy?
Well, so that was like more between like, I know Knox and our bass player Chungo, they like were doing more of the concept for that one, working with this guy Devin Davies, who we actually met on this last tour when we did the 200 Stab Wounds Undeath Phobophilic tour. Phobophilic was actually staying at his house, so we ended up going out in New York and like hanging out with that dude, went to a bar, had some drinks, and he was just like, yeah, I do videos and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, well, we actually we actually kind of need some videos coming up. So we just got in touch with him, and it was pretty chill. So yeah, and then Knox just kind of like had a concept with it, and they just kind of like worked off of each other, because he sent a pretty full treatment with like his concept and whatnot, and then they just kind of like worked on it together to like to get to the finished product.
And absolutely rad. Like I can always appreciate something being like more of a film, but then having something have like some live performance and the aggressiveness to it, like
definitely
can't go wrong.
And that's the one thing I thought was pretty cool, because Devin, when he hit us up, he was like, I really want this to be a lot more like concept driven, because most metal videos are just like, you got some dudes in a field playing the track, what I mean? It's like, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. We have some videos of us just jamming, but it's just like, it's cool. And there's a little something more in it. And Devin really wanted to like kind of take it and like run with that. And I think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, for sure. Now, did you guys, this must have been maybe a year ago or so, did you guys play shows with Cattle Decapitation and Extinction AD? Were you on?
No, I think that was actually Creeping Death. So we've done some, we did a tour with Creeping Death before. Yeah. But then it was like right after that, I think they were on that tour.
Well, I was I was listening to an interview recently with one of those dudes, and they were mentioning you guys, and I was like, I don't fucking remember Enforce being on this
No,
tour.
no, we've played a show with Extinction AD in Richmond before, and I think we've got asked to do a tour with them, but I don't think it's actually ever happened.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
another band absolutely
Yeah.
ripping. Those
Yeah.
Rick
Those
and
dudes got riffs. That's for damn sure. Yeah.
Man, well, this has been absolutely rad, man. You guys are hitting the road, I'm sure. You know, accompanying
Yep.
some stuff for the record. What else do you got as far as in plans for the record?
So I mean, you know, we got a beer release coming up next week that, you know, we're gonna have in Richmond, like a little listening party the day before the record comes out. We're gonna drink some beers and whatnot. Got our beer with the veil coming out, and then after that, you know, we got that Venom Inc. tour in June and
Oh
July,
yeah,
so that'll be a sick
shit.
one. Yeah, I'm stoked on that.
God.
It's like I
No,
love Venom, so.
that's the 2 months, right? Or is that something going further into the summer?
It's like I think it's just a couple weeks.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's like about around 3 weeks. Yeah, it's because we don't have anything as like extensively planned. You know, like last year we went pretty hard on like hitting the road and stuff, but this year it's definitely like not quite as busy. But it's
Okay.
like just kind of, you know, we didn't we just kind of have like a lot of our scheduling has just been kind of crazy, and then you know with work, you know, the three of us, me, Zach, and Will, we all work for the same company. We're all painters and stuff, so you know,
Oh,
we've all been
okay.
getting, you know, we've just been trying to get that figured out. There's a lot of changes happening at the company and stuff, so we've been trying to just kind of get that figured out while also touring. Because I mean, our bosses and everything, like they're stoked on Enforced, and they're like, yo, you guys, like we want to see you guys hit the road. You know, like
Damn,
it's
that's
sweet. So
awesome.
they're like, it's awesome how much they work with
That
us on that. You know, it's pretty fortunate because you can't really find that in
yeah.
most jobs.
Yeah, that's not ultra common, man. That's
Yeah.
something I've heard a couple of cats mention. I'm like, God, you're lucky.
Yeah, right.
Or
And
not lucky,
especially a
so to
job.
speak. But I mean, like
Yeah, no,
it's
I would
any
say so, but
yeah,
it's
any
just
opportunity being able to have that little extra freedom to be able to do this shit
yeah,
is
exactly. And
awesome.
especially when it's a job that's like full time and you know you get some benefits and stuff too. It's like pretty
Totally.
rare, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, man,
It's
dude,
pretty
this has
sweet.
been absolutely sick, Alex.
Right on,
I
man.
am super stoked on the record. Like I say, I can't wait. Once I get mine, I'll have it posted on here. And yeah, man, this has been really
Sick,
rad.
dude.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. This
Yeah,
is fun.
totally. I'll have this edited probably within like the next month or so. Or actually, wait, the record comes out the 20th, so probably right around there. Maybe not like a couple of days, so it's not like slapping everything out there, but just for
Yeah,
like a little
yeah.
added like content to the record. The coming days after or whatnot,
Yeah, for
I'll have
sure.
it out. So
Cool,
thank you so
man.
much once again, dude. This
All
has been
right, dude.
rad.
Yeah. Appreciate
All
you
right.
having me on,
Yeah,
dude.
take
Take it easy.
care. See ya.
You're so lo-fi, lo-fi, a whole guy, yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.